First of all, thank you to the organizers for inviting me. And it's been a wonderful half day so far. I've really heard some very interesting uh, sessions from all the speakers so far. So I'm going to time is short. I'm going to quickly jump into what I'm here for. And Murli had told me that when I asked him what should I talk about when we talk about criminal law, legal clinics, and he said you focus on the issue of indignities because that's something that comes out very clearly from the work that all of us have been doing. And so I've prepared accordingly. I'm going to speak more about indignities and maybe towards the end talk a little bit about what constitutes dignity from a grassroots perspective. So the first question that I framed is like this: who are we talking about? When we as civil society actors, as academicians, as students, faculty from law universities or social work departments, I am located within a social work department of TISS, the Center for Criminology and Justice. And so my perspective may be a little different from what the rest of the people in this hall come from. So we are talking about people, first of all, who do not have family support or do not have the resources to be able to move the system. If you look at this entire system, you can divide the people who come into the system into these two categories: people who have family support, people who do not have family support. The ones who have family support, their situation is much better. That doesn't mean that the indignities are not being heaped on them, but their situation is better than that without family support. We are talking about people who have very little education or almost non-existent education in the formal education space, and very little knowledge of how the law and the legal systems operate. There is a local versus migrant issue also that one needs to look at, because in cities like Mumbai, there's a very strong sentiment of the local versus the migrant. So the migrant is often seen as somebody who is, creating all the problems. And therefore, right from the justice delivery system people to co-prisoners, they do face various kinds of indignities because of the fact that they are a migrant. We are talking about people who end up as juveniles in prison because of their age being fudged by the police or by a matter of accident. And we are also talking about young people in the age group of 18 to 21. We are talking of people who are arrested in a series of petty offenses, particularly the Indian Railway Act and the Railway Property and Unlawful Possession Act, which are mostly summary trial matters where they are just produced before a judge, and sometimes within a matter of a few couple of remand sessions they can be convicted. They are in fact actively encouraged to plead guilty, even by the magistrate, that if you plead guilty, you have already spent so much time, so you can be released. When we talk of indignity, I want to bring to the notice of the House this set of offenses which are called summary trial matters. Now, within the same criminal justice system, you have a category of petty offenses where these are summarily tried in the interest of justice. Whereas if you come in for a serious offense, then an entire trial will take place. So these summary trial matters are such where you are produced like ticketless traveling, or a railway crossing, on things of that, where if you do not plead guilty also you will get a sentence. That's how that system operates. We are also looking at a lot of people with substance abuse problems, and that is also one of the reasons why they end up in crime in many cases. And then there's this category called habitual offenders, which itself, according to me, is a huge indignity, because they are just people with repeat offense backgrounds. And a lot of the times they are repeat offense background people because they keep getting arrested by the police on account of suspicion. So, and then it becomes confirmed that, oh, these are habitual offenders. In the case of women, we are talking of women who have been arrested for the murder of their husbands, or for infanticide cases, or in cases like where they have railway, chain snatching kind of cases, and some women who are arrested for peddling of drugs. We are also talking about women with children, both inside prison and outside prison. So this is the category of people about whom I'm going to talk. Now, let me come straight to how their dignity gets compromised. And I'll walk you through all the three phases: police custody, prison custody, and courts. So, the first thing that one needs to look at is the lockup conditions. Deliberately, the lockup conditions are kept dirty, messy, smelly, toilets are not clean, and things of that sort. I'm not even talking about the violence, which is very well known, that takes place in police custody. Then there is the issue of starting from footwear. If you are, particularly if you come from a poor family background, the first thing that the police does is they ask you to remove your footwear, and you are barefoot even when you are produced in court. You are barefoot, so that is that is a signal being given to you. And this is where I'm continuing from where Murli has left off, that the system is trying to give a message. Similarly, if the person says, I want another set of clothes, very often one of the dialogues that the under trial has to hear from the police is, I'll say it in Hindi first and then I'll translate it. ये तुम्हारे बाप का घर नहीं है. This is not your father's house. That you can ask for this and that. Okay, so just be happy that we are giving you so much. When it comes to food, there are no clear rules about, like, for example, in prison custody, there's a prison manual. The food has to be given according to certain calories and things of that sort, but no such thing. Often the food is outsourced to a contractor, and he brings some food from a local canteen. That's what they have to eat. Whether meetings with family members will be allowed or not, just no guarantee that they will be allowed. It depends on whether the family can grease the palms of the police to be able to meet the family members. There's a lot of negotiation that takes place at the police station at the point of when the charges are being put on that person. So whether it will be simple hurt or grievous hurt, whether it will be theft or robbery, and this is called in local Mumbai language tod pani, which is basically trying to negotiate with the family that, okay, if you pay so much, then we'll reduce the charges. Under the same category, there's a range of offenses, so we can fix it accordingly. And lawyers, very often there are fixed lawyers. The police and these lawyers have a kind of a deal with each other. So when the family comes and says, we want a lawyer, these lawyers get referred, and these lawyers are people who basically there to fleece money. In judicial custody, I'm talking of the prison. Again, already Murli has mentioned about strip search. It's a very, very humiliating process. I mean, it could easily be taken care of if body scanners were introduced, or some other way where it could be done in a more dignified way. Allotment of work. Murli has already talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Working for other prisoners. A lot of the times, if you don't have money, you end up working for the other prisoners, like cleaning their clothes or washing their utensils and things of that sort. And in return, you will get some favor. Like, for example, you have the system of buying coupons inside the prison for the prison canteen, where you can buy some additional things than what is being provided to you as part of the prison manual. So a lot of the times, the poorer prisoners work for the the so-called more powerful, richer prisoners. There's a lot of sodomy and sale of sex going on. And here I'm not talking of only, women. I'm talking of also boys, younger boys being used. And sometimes it is because they want something, so they agree to it. People who are arrested on rape and drug addiction or drug peddling charges are treated very badly inside, including by the prison population. They're beaten up and things of that sort. There is a money order economy, in the sense that you're allowed to send money, by the family is allowed to send money, but then very few people who don't have money, families, they don't have that money. So then they do a lot of things because they want those coupons, which is very, even to have cigarettes, you need to buy it from the prison canteen. If there is a round that the superintendent goes every day in the morning to check with everybody if everything is all right, and if, God forbid, anybody makes a complaint, they are treated very well afterwards by the local guards as to why did they complain. So it's again a message being given to the rest of the prison population that don't complain. Just be happy with what you have. The question of who gets produced in court, because there is shortage of police escorts. So again, if you have money or if you don't have money, if you have influence, if you don't have influence, these are the parameters based on which it gets decided whether you will be produced in court. And again, during family visits, what is going to be allowed? Sometimes family brings a little bit of food, or they might get clothes, or they might get biscuits and things like that. And again, what will be allowed inside and not allowed inside will depend on, how much you're able to, please the authorities concerned. Yeah, okay. In court, starting from the way in which you're produced in court, very often, of course, handcuffing is not allowed while in court, but what typically happens is that the constable puts their hand behind, he kind of, so that it doesn't show that they are still handcuffed, and then produced holding the collar in front of the magistrate. And before the person can say something, the next date is announced. So unless you're really gutsy enough to say, I want to say something, my lord, you're not likely to be able to say something. The mulakat that happens in court, a lot of times families prefer to come to court to meet their, relatives in prison, because judicial mulakat, prison mulakat is more difficult. This is easier because if you pay a little money to the constable, they'll allow for a mulakat. Again, there are problems there. Not able to talk to their lawyers. A lot of these under trials, they don't know what's going on in their case. Lawyer is there, he's paid money, but they just simply don't know, because the lawyers don't feel that it's their duty to go and talk to them and tell them what's going on in the court. The magistrate, again, very, very uneven picture. You can have magistrates who are very particular about the rights of under trials, and there are those who just don't care. So again, it depends on what kind of a magistrate you're dealing with. And some of the issues that typically get ignored are, for example, the juvenility of the under trial, whether or not he or she is really under 18 or not, a situation of children left outside, health problems that they might be facing, and mental health issues. These are typically the kind of issues that will get neglected when the person is being produced in court, and it is the duty of the magistrate to make sure that these things are being taken care of. And then there is a system we have in our country called jail courts, where prisoners arrested for petty offenses, the matter is tried inside the prison, and it's typically known as Guna Kabul Court. That is, you end up pleading guilty, and whatever time you have spent inside is the set-off sentence that is given to you. I'll just talk of one or two cases. All names have been changed to protect confidentiality. Amrita, she was charged with trafficking of a minor girl. She was in prison for 8 years. Multiple bail applications were rejected. Finally, legal aid was provided through Prayas's efforts in 2019. And during her trial, a critical discrepancy emerged. The name of the original complainant did not match the FIR records. Finally, she was acquitted in 2021. Sheetal's bail. This person was arrested for obstructing a public servant during a fight for parking her bike in a no parking zone. And serious charges were then, including obstructing a government officer to do their duty, and assault. Those are the kind of offenses. She was this was COVID lockdown. She was in prison for 2 years because her case papers were misplaced between two jurisdictional courts. Finally, the case was reported in the online platform called The Wire, and then the High Court instituted an inquiry, and then immediately the papers were found within 2 days, and then she was granted bail. There were these two Thai nationals who had come from Thailand. They were arrested under the Passports Act and the Foreigners Act. Actually, they were women who were trafficked to India. They were initially in Rajasthan in sex work, and then one of them got arrested again, and then they got bail also, because she was able to make a claim that her visa is going to get expired, so she needs and on that ground the magistrate had given her bail. These two women then came to Mumbai. They were again arrested under the Passports Act. Long story. Finally, they had to plead guilty to the offense of, Passports Act and Foreigners Act, and they were released, and we helped them to go back to Thailand. This is a case of a man who was arrested under the Electricity Act for theft of electricity, and very serious charges were put on him in 2021. Uh, his case was mistakenly produced before the magistrate's court, but actually this was a sessions trial matter. We got the matter transferred to the sessions court first. Finally, bail was granted for 25,000. Then a legal aid application was made to reduce the bail amount. And then through the new scheme that the government of India has started, Support to Poor Prisoners scheme, he was released on bail. This is the last one. Dilip was a migrant laborer from West Bengal, was incarcerated since 2018 on charges of kidnapping and ransom. His employer had charged him with these offenses. But according to us, our observation was he was either mentally disturbed or definitely emotionally disturbed. He kept saying that he had taken the child out for a round. Ghumane le gaya tha. But the employer, for some reason, we don't know what is true. He was arrested in all these offenses. We got a lawyer appointed for him. There was no evidence of ransom, and therefore, finally, he pleaded guilty for kidnapping and was sentenced to 5 years of the period that he had already spent inside prison. He's currently working in a shelter home. So, just to come to the last point of what I want to say, is you've heard a lot about the indignities that have been heaped upon these people. Now, just a little bit about what brings dignity to the table, again, from the point of view of the grassroots voices. The most important thing that I have found in my entire career of working in this situation is if a person feels heard, he feels that his dignity is restored. And case after case after case, I've heard under trials telling me that ye judge sahab meri baat sunta hai. He hears me out. That's all he wants. He doesn't, he might be a judge. There are two categories of judges from the point of view of, prison population: convicted or conviction oriented judges and those who tend to acquit. So it doesn't really matter to him that, whether he is conviction oriented or not, but he gives me a hearing. When I want to say something, he listens to me. That's a very important component of dignity. Then the question of individualizing from a general population. When you are able to individualize a situation of a person in a generic situation, it helps in the person feeling dignified. And finally, if you're able to give voice to that person, I think these are some important factors. And I think what we are able to do through our project is that the social workers who work in our project, they try to do these things. They try to bring a voice of the person who's otherwise not heard before the system, and the system does respond. We have also seen judges who are very particular about ensuring that the lawyer has been given, a legal aid lawyer has been given, procedures are being followed, and that really makes a difference when it comes to the last point I want to make. All the social, I was listening to the conversation that happened in the previous session, and it just came to me that some of the non-negotiable social work principles, which is dignity, self-worth, individuality, non-judgmental attitude, empathy, and confidentiality. This is the bedrock of social work practice. And all of this is nothing but bringing dignity to the table. Thank you.